Hello everyone, my name is Melgane, and I'm the writer of the How to Priest Legion Shadow Guide, and I'm making this video to demonstrate how I am currently doing STM as of the recording of this video. I've been asked by several people in the How to Priest Discord and on the website, and I decided to finally just go ahead and make this video to show what I'm working with. So let's take a look at our character screen. There are a lot of things going on with the character screen, but in primary, the thing we're going to focus on is gear. To start off with, I am still using the class necklace. I found this Impatient necklace about 34th day of the expansion. I got it, and I have just been going with it the entire time. I find the on-use effect to be very fantastic, and I've decided it's great. I do have the legendary shoulders, and an important misconception that happens with the shoulders is that the stacks of Lingering Insanity affect the next void form. That's not how it works. It's purely time-based. Faster you get into void form, the better the effect of the legendary shoulders. So that's what I'm going to be demonstrating here in this video, is using them properly without cheesing it too much in the testing of the actual shoulders effect. I also have the legendary belt, which just grants 2 more blast charges. Was my 4th legendary. I got it recently, and I'm very pleased given that it was kind of pushing me down a little lower in the rankings. Other than that, nothing that special. It does allow you to push PI further back, and it does let your PI be a little safer. So hopefully in this STM that I'm going to do, that's going to be shown to its prominence. It should allow you to get about 140 seconds. For my trinkets, I'm using the best piece I ever got from Mythic Plus Caches, which is an 885 Oak Hearts. It's just a pure damage trinket. I'm using it because it just is so good right now. And then I'm also using an 870 DSB, which is simply because it has a ton of crit on it, and it's absolutely fantastic. It rolled fantastic from a World Quest, and it is great damage on top of it because it's highly over budgeted right now. So that's the set of gear that I'm actually working with, but we also need to talk about stats. So right now, in terms of crit, I'm rocking about 8,400 crit rating. The reason that it's a little lower, or I'm sorry, 8,700 crit rating, and the reason that it's a little lower is because I'm a Blood Elf, so I get a passive 350 crit rating bonus to put me at the 9k that's suggested. So don't be surprised when you see Blood Elves a little lower. For haste, I am running very low on haste. I have 8,100 on my character sheet, but I use haste food in raids, primarily because I made a ton of it at the beginning of the expansion. So that bumps me up to 8,500 haste rating with the food, which is about 1,000 lower because I have both the belt and the shoulders, which reduce the amount of haste that you need for a successive STM. So don't be surprised when you see haste get lower. And then, in terms of mastery, this is just what I got on my gear. I'm not really focusing very much on it at the moment. I would prefer to have all haste gems and enchants, but truth be told, I can't find any place to substitute a piece of gear right now that could get rid of those mastery gems. So that's the gear that we're working with, and that's what we're going to do for this STM that's coming up. Okay, so like I said earlier, we're actually going to use the legendary shoulders to show and try and simulate what a real raid boss scenario would be. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get into void form. I'm going to get all my insanity up as much as possible. You're going to do this like normal. And this, if you have the shoulders, I really do suggest doing this. It's a really good thing to see just what the shoulders can do for you. So what I'm doing here is I'm just casting Void Bolt to keep my dots up and maintained. That way I don't have to recast them. Because what I'm going to do is when I drop this Void form, I'm going to pop STM, and then I'm going to hit my 3 Mind Blast charges and get into STM as soon as possible. And this is what you should do with the belt unless there's a timing issue. So as you can see here, I pop it and immediately I've gained 6 stacks thanks to my shoulders. So I'm going to start off with the Void, and then I'm going to use the Void Bolt in order to go ahead and extend my dots. I'm going to use Dispersion. I choose to use double Dispersion in my STMs. I've found that it actually tends to get me a fairly large amount of extra time versus not using it. It's a choice. I don't really have any hard mathematical proof that it's better one way or the other, but it's what I prefer to do. Now you'll see here as I'm in the pre-second void, post-first void stage, I am using Shadow or Death almost on cooldown here. That's mostly for a DPS perspective. I don't like holding Shadow or Death even on dummies. I think that it's a bad mentality to get into, and it can lower your DPS when you get into raids. I do run STM very aggressively, so I choose to make choices that really will cost me if I fuck it up. So here you see that I make sure death is on cooldown going into the second void, and now from here on out, I'm not going to be using death unless I absolutely have to. And the way that I decide that is that on the insanity bar, when it flashes red, that means you're about to die. And at that point, Shadow or Death is pretty much your get out of jail free card. So at this point, I'm building up to the 130% haste marker. I will admit that I am very, very guilty of not paying attention to that and still using 2 rotation when I'm not supposed to. As you can see, I'm starting to get nearer and nearer to the 100 stack mark, and I have not used Power Infusion yet. So here we go, we're at 100 stacks, and as you can see, I use my class necklace, and then I just start going in. I have a point where I've got no deaths up, the only thing I've got is a blast. I know I'm going to die if I don't do anything. Now I'm going through here with a cycle of just Void Bolt and Mind Blast, but you'll see I actually get kind of unlucky coming up with spirits. I don't have any spirits coming in. I don't have any charges of Mind Blast, so I have to use a death during it. That can happen. Don't be worried if it does, but then I go into a Void immediately after. I see that I got some Insanity back, so I go ahead. I use my spells. I do dip very, very low, but I was confident that I could get the Dispersion off. And then it's just death, blast, bolt, death, blast, bolt. And then there we go. We've hit our 141 second STM. So just try and follow this guide and you should see a very successful STM.